YouTuber named Alex Meyers has recently come under extreme fire for his misogynistic and weird-ass take on the movie Obsession.
If you had one wish granted that was guaranteed to come true, what would you wish for? Careful now, gotta word it right.
Man, I haven't shown my face in a video in like months. And I'm sure some of you are grateful for that, so you're welcome.
Would you wish for, say, $1 billion, or to be world famous, or perhaps the ability to live forever? Now, perhaps you'd wish for none of those things. Perhaps instead you'd wish for your crush, the object of your affection, to love you more than anyone else in the world. That's what the lead character Bear did in the movie Obsession, when he wished for his longtime crush Nikki to fall madly in love with him. And if you've seen the movie, you know how that turns out.
He is the villain. If you felt bad for Bear while watching Obsession, I fear you missed the point.
Now, the best films in the world are up for interpretation. That's what art is for, meant to cause a conversation. And often it's reflecting the viewer's own beliefs back at them, revealing as much about the person watching as it does about the work itself.
Do you understand any of it?
No.
No, it's very confusing.
You don't understand?
I don't think you do either.
Let me show you one a painting I just sold.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Then maybe you could explain the mystery of that
I
one.
will.
But every once in a while, a film or a piece of art is interpreted in a way that is so twisted and toxic in the interpretation that its intended message gets lost entirely, exposing potentially the darkest parts of its audience.
At first it was just hate on the video for Obsession, and that's fine. You can hate on it if you want. You can disagree, that's totally fine. But it has, in the past couple of days, it's devolved into personal attacks, and it's gotten to a level that I can foresee getting kind of dangerous.
When the undeniable villain of a movie is championed by those who potentially relate to them somehow and defend the character's actions, the reaction begins to expose the real-life villains watching in the audience, or at the very least, the real-world behaviors that lead to real-world harm.
That movie, if you are a woman, you cannot actually experience it. It's like a guy trying to understand Taylor Swift. It's not possible. You have to be the correct gender in order to comprehend it. So girls don't understand Obsession. They walk in and they think it's a good movie. Oh my God, that was so good.
So then the question pops up, how morally bankrupt does someone have to be to joke about some of the most despicable crimes against humanity, or defend a man who exploits a woman in the worst ways possible, and then demean the very idea of bodily autonomy and consent?
Ian is kind of like a douche, right? Nikki seems like one of those girls who's one of the guys, you know? And Bear has a huge crush on Nikki, even though Sarah over here is clearly into Bear on some level, and he just like doesn't notice, doesn't care. So Bear's choices are Crystal Mommy or Septum Girl.
The box office hit Obsession isn't just an extraordinary piece of cinema. It has quickly become, to many people's minds, a cultural litmus test, exposing disturbed men who publicly defend its, what I believe to be, indefensible villain, only to destroy their own careers, potentially, in the fallout. Oh, and spoiler alert, there will probably be some spoilers today.
Oh, no, 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 don't say that!
So, picture this. Your friends invite you to a late-night screening of the most talked-about movie out right now. Horror isn't usually a genre you go see, but the word-of-mouth hype convinces you to give it a chance. Over the next 2 hours of cinematic chaos, you and your friends gasp and recoil at the terrifying events unfolding on screen. You've never seen a movie depict the real-life horror of losing control over your own body so chillingly. To you, it's crystal clear who the villain is. The man who takes advantage of a woman who cannot speak or act for herself. But when you leave the theater, relieved to be back in the real world, as if somehow that's any better, a different kind of horror unfolds in the lobby. As everyone starts sharing their thoughts, you hear a guy squeak out an argument that the man on screen did nothing wrong and did not deserve his ultimate demise.
I do not think that Bear in Obsession is the villain, and I think that is pretty clear, and even the actor said he doesn't find his character to be the villain.
You and your friends, you're stunned. Suddenly, this fictional story has taken on a new life, and the dynamic of the friend group is changed, possibly for good. Because when someone can sit through such a horrifying depiction of violated bodily autonomy and still sympathize with the man responsible, it no longer feels like they're simply expressing an opinion. It feels like they're revealing themselves as a threat to your safety. Welcome to the chaos. Oh, hi, hello, it's Swoop, and welcome to the dark waters of the Suspool, the place where everything and everyone is sus. Maybe even us. Come on in, the water's fine. Welcome back, Suspirians. Grab your movie tickets and the full meal that you want to sneak into the theater. You know you do it. Because today's story is going to prove it's not our attention spans that need fixing. It's, it's red-pilled incel brain men who always think they're the victim, yet again.
Somehow, Heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
If you're new here, welcome to my second channel. On my main channel, Swoop, I do full-length deep dives, and over here, we dip. We skinny dip into the dark waters of the Suspool, where everything is unhinged. It's often unserious, but sometimes it's what today is. So welcome to the chaos. If you're into mind-bending, dark, and twisted tales, subscribe to this channel, bring a towel, tell your friends, and go ahead and ask the like button what she wishes for. And no matter what she wishes, give her a pie tin full of whipped cream straight to the face and tell her it's for the best. I don't know why, but somehow it just is.
Going 43 in a school zone, are you crazy? E.T. Jesus, you moron!
I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who's been hyping our videos here. If you don't know about the hype feature, when you look at the comments bar on your mobile device, if you swipe the little comment bar over, you'll see the ability to hype the video. And that's a great way to help us expand our reach to new audiences. A lot of people found us from the Haley Beck video that posted a few days ago. So thank you so much for everyone who's been sharing the content. Also, huge thank you to everyone who has watched the Dr. Oz deep dive on my main channel. That is probably the biggest production that I have done on one of my Swoop docs over there. And the feedback has been absolutely incredible. So thank you so much to everyone who's checked it out. And if you haven't checked it out, I'll have it linked in the description and also in the pinned comment. It would mean the world to me if you gave it a watch. We put in months of work on that piece, and it really is we're so proud of it. Quick couple of things and then we'll get to it. You can also join our Patreon community for exclusive access to 4 more videos per month. That's 4 more exclusive, uncensored, unfiltered videos per month, plus the entire back catalog. We just crossed over 5,000 Patreon members. Thank you so much to everybody. It truly means so much to me. This video is sponsored by Mint Mobile. Okay, Suspirians, real quick before we dive in, can I ask you something? Why do we all just accept our phone bill like it's some mysterious punishment we aren't allowed to question? Do I actually need to spend this much? Is switching carriers a nightmare? Do I have to spend my Saturday sitting in a phone store while someone tries to upsell me 17 accessories I don't need while slowly sucking away my soul? Turns out, no. Mint Mobile is a premium wireless carrier offering no contract plans. We love that. So you're asking, what's the deal? Well, right now, Mint Mobile is offering 3, 6, or 12 months of premium wireless for $15 a month. And that's any plan, even unlimited. And honestly, I think that's pretty incredible. So naturally, my next question was, okay, where's the catch? Turns out, there is none. Mint Mobile operates on the nation's largest 5G network, with 5G coverage reaching 98% of Americans and 4G LTE reaching 99% of Americans. So you're not sacrificing reliable coverage in order to save money. Imagine that. So what does Mint Mobile actually include? Well, I'm glad you asked. Every plan includes unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. And on top of all of that, they opened my eyes to the ability to have a second eSIM in my phone in one single phone, so I can keep my personal number completely separate from my business line, or, you know, the number I give to people that I have no intention of calling back. And I also like that they don't force everyone into the exact same plan. You can choose between 6 gigs, 17, 23 gigs, or unlimited depending on how much data you actually use. Because, like, let's be honest, some of us practically live on Wi-Fi and somehow stream an entire movie in the grocery store parking lot, okay? We all have different needs, no judgment. And I know what you're thinking, is switching going to be complicated? Nope. I was actually shocked at how easy setting up my eSIM was on my phone. Everything happens 100% online. There's no stores, no appointments, no waiting around. It's literally so easy and definitely introvert approved. You can literally sign up from your couch, activate your eSIM in minutes, and you can even keep your same number. Like, honestly, I love anything that lets me avoid having to deal with people in person, okay? I want to stay in my cave and dwell. No stores, no salespeople, no wasting an entire afternoon in some of your dignity. You just pick the plan that's right for you, activate online, and you're good to go. So, dear Suspirians, stop overpaying for wireless just because, you know, that's how it's always been. Switch to Mint and get 3, 6, or 12 months of premium wireless for $15 per month. That's any plan, even unlimited, and treat yourself, honey. You deserve it. Now, before we proceed, I just want to give a quick content heads up that we won't be discussing anything graphic by any means, but there will be discussion around themes of SA, DV, and rape culture in general as it relates to the film and beyond. So if you are planning to see the film and haven't, just know that there are very intense and graphic themes around all of that happens in the film. Because I just want to give you a heads up warning before you go to the theater or watch it online. Okay, strap on that swimsuit, grab your nose plugs, and let's dip in to the Suspool. subject of today's Suspool is not actually really just the film. It's about the YouTuber and yapping cartoon Alex Meyer. You may have heard what went down recently with Alex Meyer.
It's like in high school when people thought I was weird, but they just didn't know the real me, okay? Because turns out they had no idea.
Over the past 9 years or so, Alex has uploaded countless video essays almost exclusively about popular movies and TV shows in which he basically dunks on their flaws and shortcomings with his kind of snarky, edgy sense of humor, my favorite.
Man, no judgment here, but Emily Blunt's face is so different now. Not even remotely the same person. Anne Hathaway, Meryl Streep, they look great. And Stanley Tucci? Drop that skincare routine, my dude.
Now, he really gained traction around 2017 when he started using the animated persona to accompany his voiceover and started talking about the campy teen heartthrob show Riverdale.
Why do you even care about a show like Riverdale? Well, kids, time for a little PSA. In this world, there's 3 kinds of people. Some people are 16 going on 17, some people are 16 going on 21, and some people are 29 going on 12. But yeah, Riverdale Season 2.
Now, his channel has grown to over 4 million subscribers, and his animation style has only gotten more complex. He pumps out sometimes cynical commentary videos with a special focus on content made for teens and young adults that he deems cringy as a grown man.
So Andrea's been working in journalism all these years, writing all those hard-hitting pieces that get the traction online, like 6 crazy things women do that are actually super healthy. They stalk people on social media. Just coming out swinging.
I'm sorry though, pause. Can we have some cringe? Is that okay? Susan, is that okay if we have a little cringe these days? Is that allowed? This is my personal campaign for cringe to return, dear Suspirians. The world is burning. The billionaires are billioning all over our faces. Sometimes I just want to escape into a cave of cringe and forget the price of gas for a while. So is that so bad?
Eat your vegetables, honey.
Quiet, piggy.
Excuse me?
You do not talk to your mother that way. My president said it, so I can too. God damn it, that's a good point.
Personally, I saw A Devil Wears Prada 2 recently. I wasn't expecting it to win an award or my admiration. I just wanted to look at some overpriced, ridiculous fashion and watch Miranda be a bitch for a couple of hours. Is that okay? Is that okay? Is that okay? Anyways, the thing about Alex Meyer's videos is that he's always kind of taking the sort of low-brow plot summary approach with his commentary, while not, in some people's minds at least, offering anything unique besides the animation style, which he mixes with self-deprecating humor and super sick roasts, bro.
Now, the story goes that the girl who would become the grandma of this main character family had to flee her home with her husband during the Colombian Civil War of the early 1900s. She had just given birth to triplets, mind you, and okay, it's been a while since I did Punnett squares in school, but how did these two make a redheaded white kid?
In the past, some of his viewers have complained about a common theme of misogyny and some questionable commentary on dating, which we will get into a little bit more of that later, but also please remember this is just a dip. We're not doing a deep dive, and I'm not gonna watch all of his content, okay? That's just... no.
Kate, who asked Joe to off Uncle Bob, is now afraid of him because he did exactly that. Women, am I right? I want a guy who's so in love with me, he'll literally do anything for me. And then you murder 17 people and suddenly they're all you're being a toxic boyfriend.
Now, recently, Alex splashed headfirst in one of the biggest Suspools of the year when he decided to take on one of the biggest movies of the year, Obsession.
I don't think I've seen the internet freak out about a movie like they have with Obsession. At least not in a long time. Maybe K-pop Demon Hunters was the last time where everywhere you looked, everyone had an opinion about it. I guess you could say everyone's kinda obsessed.
Now, Obsession is a genuinely beautifully made movie, in my opinion. I saw it recently. I saw it before. I didn't want to formulate an opinion on all this stuff without seeing the film first. And as a filmmaker myself, I thought it was a tremendous accomplishment by all of the artists who came together to create that film. I found the cinematography and lighting outstanding. They made some beautiful lighting choices that are very unique to it. The Foley, the sound design, don't even get me started on the actors. Oh my gosh, Indy Navarrete is phenomenal. Michael Johnston, incredible. Megan Lawless, Cooper Tomlinson, all of them did such a brilliant job bringing this small budget film to life and should all be proud of their performances. Now, Curry Barker, the director, is a massive talent, and I think his intention with the story and the villain arc is very clear, even if Alex Meyers managed to lose the plot. And I even enjoyed Curry's subtle and not so subtle nods to director Jordan Peele, who clearly has inspired Curry Barker's style.
Oh,
No.
What?
No.
And also, what I very much appreciate, Curry Barker started as a YouTuber.
Reservation. What is the process of elimination? Is that
What is the
we're
theory
doing?
of relativity?
I don't have any idea. Oh, now I remember. I don't know.
And I think that is incredible because we still, as YouTubers who work in any industry outside of YouTube, whether it be in film and more traditional film or documentary or writing or visual arts, fine arts, music, delivering the news, whatever it is, there are still so many short-sighted people who think that YouTubers, people who do YouTube predominantly, couldn't possibly have talent, which is so insane, especially when you know these billion-dollar studios are all desperately trying to build and capitalize and create the types of viewership and audiences that we have created in this grand scheme of social media community. And it's just wild to me that people will still try to reduce me down to, oh, just some YouTuber. And it's like, well, actually, I was doing film before I did YouTube, and actually I was doing music before I did it like full time. Okay.
If you've been to the movies this past month, there's a good chance it was to see Obsession. The independently made horror film shot and edited for less than $1 million has now grossed, hold on to your popcorn, almost $300 million worldwide, wowing audiences with its simple message, be careful what you wish for. The film follows Bear, a 20-something who buys a supernatural toy that grants him one wish, and what he wishes for is that his friend Nikki will fall madly in love with him. But when that wish comes true, Bear must deal with some awful consequences.
The Hollywood bigwigs, the fat cats, were shook that the movie only cost around $750,000 to make. And yes, I know it's crazy that for movies that's not a lot of money, but trust me, that is not a lot of money in the industry.
So I knew I had to make a video about it, but like they kept pushing back the VOD release date, you know, because y'all kept on watching it. $750,000 budget and it made $300 million. One of the biggest indie film success stories of all time.
However, easily one of the most talked about aspects of the movie was the topic that ultimately landed Alex Meyers in the Suspool today, the depiction of consent and SA, which is basically what Obsession is about. So the main character is like this relentlessly awkward young man named Bear who wishes that his crush Nikki would love him more than anyone else in the world. He'd had a crush on her, but he hadn't communicated to her his feelings. He was afraid to do so. There were so many like start, stop moments. It seemed very clear by some one-liners and things that she said that like she only ever viewed him as a friend. After another like false start and him not saying his feelings, he makes this wish by cracking one of those one wish willows. And this wish kind of unbelievably, unintentionally comes true and allows an entity or a demon, I'm not really sure, it's kind of left to interpretation, to take control of Nikki's mind, stripping her of her bodily autonomy entirely. As Bear gradually realizes that the real Nikki, someone he considered a friend, is trapped inside her own body and unable to consent to basically anything, his continued sexual involvement and touching and kissing and relationship with her slowly reveals him to be the story's true villain, a vile and deeply selfish man who continuously, in my opinion, rapes and imprisons Nikki for his own obsession of being loved by her in this, you know, even though she's under this spell, we'll call it, of this wish.
Why is Bear the villain of Obsession? That doesn't seem fair. It's all about consent. Bear's not the villain when he makes the wish. He's not the villain when Nikki starts aggressively pursuing him, even though that's out of her character. Things get gray as Bear starts clocking Nikki's change in personality. It is your fault if you find out and you still choose to accept their consent that has not been freely given with a clear mind.
And he does this while hiding behind the veil of a very innocent, awkward guy just looking for love, which in my opinion makes his character all the more sinister and all the more real to life, right? Guys who are doing shit don't all look a very specific evil way. A lot of them just look like your fucking next door neighbor.
Hot take, but Bear from Obsession is a far worse person than the Joker. Everyone knows that Joker is batshit insane, but the reason why Bear is worse is the fact that he has remorse and guilt, but he keeps on making the worst possible choices knowing that it's wrong.
Bear is the real villain of this story.
Bear is the villain.
Yeah.
There is zero question about that.
Yeah.
Bear is a piece of shit.
The movie was widely praised for its exploration of the difference between love and lust and beyond, with many viewers describing Bear as one of the most disturbing portrayals of modern toxic masculinity and SA ever put on film. And I tend to agree with that. When I was watching it, the film was so well done. I'm always my brain, because I come from a brain as a cinematographer myself, when I'm looking at a film, there's always gonna be part of my brain that's split off just looking at shot selection, lighting, design, all of those types of elements. And I thought this was just so beautifully shot from a cinematographer's perspective. And then there's the plot and the story and the performances and all of that. And it was so deeply disturbing from top to bottom. There was just a tension that never let up, and that is very difficult to do in film effectively without it feeling forced. However, not everyone believed that this character, Bear, was in the wrong for what he did.
The court of obsession is now back in session, and I wish to interrogate the nature of Bear's wish. The prosecution would have you believe that merely wishing that someone would love you more than anyone else in the world is a uniquely and inherently evil wish because it necessitates the removal of someone's free will. Then, Your Honor, we have to convict half the human race, because who amongst you hasn't at some point wished for the exact same thing?
How do the defendants plead?
I do not think that Bear in Obsession is the villain, and I think that is pretty clear, and even the actor said he doesn't find his character to be the villain. I think you're stripping a lot of nuance from the character by saying he's just a straight up bad guy. Okay, so from the start of the movie, absolutely no one should have a problem with this character in terms of him being a villain, because he definitely is not at the start of the movie. He's innocent, he likes the idea of Nikki, his cat died, his grandma died.
Besides just being, entertaining in its own ways and terrifying of a movie, it also became a strange online Rorschach test, revealing people's potential morals and understanding or acceptance of consent through their reactions to it, because I hate it here.
Ever since I saw Obsession in theaters, I have not been able to stop thinking about it. And listening to the people who are coming out of the theater, a lot of them missed the point. First of all, Bear never loved Nikki. He barely even knew anything about her. Notice how everyone else knew about her estranged relationship with her father, except for Bear.
There was this interesting moment of a screening Q&A where even the actor Michael Johnston, who played Bear, and the writer-director Curry Barker had a mismatch in their perception of Bear's morality. So you've got the actor versus the person who wrote the actual character.
Is Bear a good person? Like, you can argue that he is almost the secret villain of the movie. He's the one who's obsessed at the beginning. He chickens out. You can almost argue he takes advantage of Nikki in this situation. So I'm very curious, Michael, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I really can't answer that, because the whole thing that I loved about the script when I first read it was that it is not black and white. It's this moral gray zone. And I don't think that he's necessarily an evil person.
I think there's definitely, there's no question that he starts to make some pretty bad choices as far as, now if he did go down this rabbit hole of trying to figure out how to fix this sooner, he doesn't even try to fix it until a person is dead, which is a little too late.
Now, as you can imagine, actor Michael Johnston caught some hell for that answer, and in a later piece stated that Bear is the villain. And that's one of those things where it's like, I'm not gonna sit here and try to eviscerate the actor. I think that I understood where he was, at least in part, trying to come from with the way that he viewed the character. And again, he portrayed this character. He really had to dig into all of the different facets of this character. And the reality for a good portion of this film is that it was a wish that came true in this magical sense that actually would never happen in reality. And so while we're looking at it and seeing, oh, the wish came true, initially, there would, if you were to relate it, try to real life initially, there'd be no effing way that a person would actually believe that that wish came true, because that is not a thing that can happen in real life. You know what I mean? But then also, it does become very, 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 very clear that Bear is absolutely a horrendous man. I mean, the dude's name is literally Bear, which intentionally or unintentionally mirrors the viral question of whether women would rather be alone in the woods with an unknown man or a bear. And actually, I feel like, I wonder if he did, I haven't looked into it, I wonder if Curry Barker did choose that name because of that whole viral thing, because I think that would add another layer of brilliance. Lesson is throw it all away, ladies, okay? They're both shitty options, and I hate it here. Now, I think it was abundantly clear that the filmmaker is making a deliberate point that Bear's behavior exposes his obsession with Nikki as dehumanizing and deeply evil. There are even moments when the real Nikki briefly regains control, sort of, at least of her words in her body while the possessed version is like sleeping, and she's laying completely helpless and unable to move in his bed and begs Bear to take her life. Yet he still refuses to stop. And when I say that he refuses to help her, he literally asked her in that moment, it was so chilling. Oh my gosh, it was so chilling. He literally asked her, "What's so bad about being with me?" This is him asking the real Nikki as she's able to kind of speak through for brief moments. Think about it. This is a man who, by his own wish and actions after the fact, has completely stripped Nikki of any and all consent to what happens to her mind, her body, her life. She is quite literally trapped in her own body with no control, while he continues to, in my opinion, rape and abuse her. But he justifies it in his mind because somehow maybe, just maybe, she really does love me. He turned this moment of extreme anguish that Nikki was enduring, that he knew she was in anguish, into his own, "Poor me, why won't you love me? It's all about me, oh my gosh."
What would be so bad? What's so bad about being with me?
There was this other moment where he calls the customer service line to the One Wish willow stick that granted his big wish. And he was asked if he wanted to cancel his wish once he saw how possessed and horrendous it was for Nikki. And Bear says, no, he doesn't want to cancel his wish. He wants to alter it. He just wants to tweak it a little bit. Okay, we know she doesn't have control. She doesn't have consent. I just want to alter it a little bit, though. I still want her to be like forced, but I just want to make her like a little less scary to me. Is basically what that was. And then the customer service agent asked, like, well, would you like to speak to her? Meaning Nikki. And you could literally hear Nikki in the background of this phone call in God knows what dimension of hell she was trapped in. And she is just screaming this blood-curdling, harrowing, soul-crushing scream. So Bear's response when asked if he wanted to speak to her and heard her screaming that scream, he hung up. Yeah, so anyone thinking he's not the villain, honey, what are we doing here?
Real quick, Bear wasn't misunderstood. He wasn't a villain. He wasn't a nice guy. He wasn't soft-spoken. Bear was a rapist. Stop sugarcoating it. He's the equivalent of roofing a girl and taking advantage of her.
So back to Alex Meyers. When his commentary video on Obsession dropped, people were floored at his audacity to not only defend Bear, but to talk about the very serious subject of the film with a very dismissive lightheartedness. And again, I am not going to come for people. I'm not talking about Alex Meyers specifically. I'm just talking in general. I'm not going to come for people who use dark humor as a way to cope through things. I do that a lot. Petty, I used to say petty is my coping mechanism. And I will use dark humor. That is just what is natural to me to get through and to make it more digestible for me to be able to get through and to make it more digestible for you watching. So I'm not gonna shame people who use dark humor. Now, let's get to Alex Meyers, though.
Now, I didn't make a lot of videos about horror stuff, but I mean, a semi-rom-com about a nerdy loser guy who gets the girl at the end. Wow, this sounds like a nice, wholesome movie. But okay, let's check it out. So come along, kids. Let's take a walk.
That original video that he posted has been deleted from his channel, but I've been able to download a copy, and oh, it's sus from the first second. He starts out with this like viewer warning that literally none of his other videos start with, which is interesting.
Warning, this video is an attempt at a good faith nuanced look at the fictional movie Obsession and the characters therein, which will probably upset some of you for some reason.
Okay, well, I'm listening. And it just gets so much worse from there. First, Alex Meyers compares himself to Bear right off the bat, painting him as a relatable character in his mind, which I'm gonna, in the spirit of good faith, as he would say, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that he was referencing like the shy guy thing and not the whole stripping a woman of her total and complete autonomy thing that he relates to. okay?
So this is our main character, Bear. Bear is 25, according to the screenplay, and he's never outgrown his awkward high school loser persona, which means he's gonna have a great career one day as an online content creator. Hi there, welcome to Twitch. Are you mentally stuck at 15? Perfect, we're gonna put you on the front page.
Like, he continually uses like the sort of self-deprecating humor to draw comparisons between himself and Bear, while at the same time calling Bear a pathetic loser.
I don't know, man, you got that strawberry milkshake sitting right there, so something tells me you're the kind of guy who's internalized a few too many rom-coms written by equally pathetic losers as yourself. I mean, trust me, ain't my first rodeo.
Then he starts making incredibly derogatory, misogynistic, and racially charged, very just overt race shit that I hate comments about the women in the movie, which is really cute. Nikki and another supporting character, Sarah. Those are the two character names.
Oh, no, Crystal Necklace. Bear, get out while you still can. But then again, Nikki is a hot Latina, so one can only remain strong for so long. Now, because Nikki dropped her necklace, Bear gets this idea to get her another one. You know, be the hero, get his foot in the door, and then have no idea what to do afterwards, like me 80% of the time.
I think what really pisses me off is that he doesn't just refer to the character Nikki in giving his film assessment. He takes the review into the real world and specifically shows a photo actress who plays Nikki, the artist who plays Nikki. So he goes from, in my opinion, sexualizing and racially stereotyping the character to the real woman, the artist, playing the character. She is meant to be her own entity as her own real human being self that is different from the fucking character. I mean, it's racist stereotyping bullshit, and it's really exhausting. Well, she's Latina, so she must do this, this, this in bed, and she must be like this, and she must have this kind of attitude, and she must, it's so exhausting. Like, he puts down specifically the women in the movie so that he can make Bear look better. We used to choose the bear, we don't choose it at all. We choose nothing, okay? We choose peace and quiet. And mind you, the other woman, the artist, the other actress in this film, Meagan Lym, is Asian. So cool, bro. You managed to go after both women who are both biracial, Latina and Asian. So that's great. Love that for you.
So Bear's choices are Crystal Mommy or Septum Girl. So this dude never stood a chance. Like, you might as well put that chastity belt in your Amazon cart right now, my dude.
I'll get a pina colada.
Pina colada?
Don't make fun of my drink. What?
I like a man who's in touch with his feminine.
Hey, whoa, didn't ask your opinion, Nikki. So here we get a look at who Nikki is. And she seems like she's kind of one of those girls who's like those like ball buster types, you know? She's always like, ha, bitch can't handle all this. I've never met a guy who can keep up with me. And then they just lay there like SpongeBob.
Cool. I swear you could literally hear the brain cells of men who think like this shrinking in real time. I'm also, why are the cartoons that you draw of the women characters, your little cartoon drawings, why are they so fucking sexual all the time and the men are just like regular ass? I wonder if that's an insight into how you might view women? It's just a question. No accusations, just a question.
My dad's dying.
And you know, to Bear's credit, he's not immediately jumping at the chance to take advantage of her or whatever. Like, he gives her privacy and space. He doesn't want to make it weird. He turns around when she takes her shirt off. And like, based on what people were saying about this movie online, I expected Bear to be this like horribly angry, misogynistic incel dude, right? But like, up until this point, he's just some super socially awkward loser who has a crush on a girl and he uses a $7 wishing toy that he assumes is not going to work. And then when Nikki starts acting like this, he's very confused and put off by
Alex Meyers is essentially saying that this character deserves more credit than people are giving him just because he didn't take advantage of a woman in a mentally and physically vulnerable state who he suspects of being on drugs at this point in the film. This isn't something a man deserves credit for, and it's actually kind of sad the way that we have been conditioned as a society to think that when a man does the absolute, I can't even call it the bare minimum. This was Bear's minimum. This is just being a decent fucking human being and like doing the thing that should be pretty obvious once you're a grown-ass adult. And does it need accolades? Is that what we need to do? Do we need to start round of applause every time a man isn't a dick? I don't know what you're looking at. I don't know what you're looking here for.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
You kissed me.
I know, thought I saw something.
So at this point, Bear thinks that Nikki was acting weird, kissed him, freaked out, etc. because she was on drugs, right? So again, to him, in this moment, it all seems totally above board. But then, out of nowhere, Nikki goes over to Bear's house to apologize.
Alex Meyers repeatedly goes out of his way to defend Bear, arguing that he must still be a good person simply because he hasn't yet committed the sexual assault that occurs later in the movie. And I actually disagree with that. I actually think that the film implies that Bear had slept with her without her consent earlier. I think it implies that, but they don't physically show it. There's like one scene where they like physically show something happening, and that doesn't mean that that was the first time. I don't know why we don't need it. And that also ignores how deeply disturbing his behavior already is and completely disregards the fact that the only reason Bear didn't go further during their first night together is because the real Nikki re-entered her body and freaked out and stopped it.
I was on MDMA, so if I was weird, that's why, and not saying that you took advantage of me.
Nikki, I didn't know you were on drugs.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that.
Not saying what?
You took advantage of me.
I don't think I didn't.
I know, that's why I'm saying you didn't.
Okay, see, this is my point. Like, given the circumstances, Bear's being pretty normal about this, okay? Given what he does and does not know by this point in the movie, like, he could have slept with her, or he could have taken some kind of advantage of her, but he was rather gentlemanly at the time. I mean, you know, for a guy who has this many Cosby sweaters.
And that's the other thing. She would have these moments where she'd, like, be present, the real her, and she'd freak out, right? Absolutely freak out, rightfully so. If she's freaking out and constantly going back and forth with that for a while and very volatile, why in the fuck would you insist on being with her? Why would you not try to support her and get her help? If she's going back and forth like that, she's not in a good place for relationship, right?
I know you like me, Bear.
Why do you like me?
Would it freak you out if I said yes?
And thus begins their relationship. They start dating, hanging out, kissing, doing the devil's tango. And Bear's finally living the life he always wanted. Hot dog. Turns out Nikki was in love with him the whole time.
Now, by this point in the movie, even Bear realizes that Nikki is no longer in control of her own body, but Alex continues to reduce the demon's behavior to a joke about Nikki being a, quote, crystal Latina mommy, okay? Because we always gotta make it about race. Anytime it's not a white person, we gotta then make it about race. God knows we can't ever just let non-white people exist. Oh my gosh.
Don't do that! I thought we were having a nice day.
Okay, see, Bear, I don't know why you're making this face. You wanted the Crystal Mommy Latina experience, and you got the Crystal Mommy Latina experience. But here's where Bear starts to maybe kind of realize what's really going on here.
He also doubles down on praising Bear for not taking advantage of Nikki earlier in the movie, again, as we discussed, somehow ignoring the fact that Bear only has sex with her after realizing she has no control over her body. It honestly couldn't be more clear, but Alex just doesn't seem to care. I guess. I don't know. I'm going into game show voice because I'm so tired.
Now, okay, up to this point, I feel like Bear has plausible deniability. I mean, there's no way he would have known the cheap toy would work. He was genuinely concerned for Nikki the day after it started, and he refused to take advantage of her even when it was, like, presented to him, right? I mean, she kissed him after all, right?
Now, I read an interview director-writer Curry Barker did with Time, and he said the following about the moment Bear knew that Nikki was not able to consent.
The point that you really supposed to, as an audience, know, oh, he knows what's going on, is when he's at the restaurant and he asks her, you love me more than anyone in the world, which is the exact way that he worded his wish. And then she goes, yes, more than anyone. And then she says, why does it matter? Because he asks, does your dad really have cancer? And she says, why does it matter? And he says, doesn't matter to me. Right? And that's kind of him saying, like, it doesn't matter to me if this is a wish or not. All that matters is that you like me. And that's where it's like, ooh, this is getting kind of freaky, right?
Now, I also have to point out something. Nikki repeatedly self-harms in this movie, like many, many, many times. I know it's done for like it is a horror movie, so it's done for like the effect of horror, right? Yeah. But that is also very much a factor in this. And my interpretation is that that's potentially at least pieces of the real Nikki trying to end her suffering or trying to break through this body that has been taken over. She smashes things into her face repeatedly in front of Bear and also at a party with many, many friends watching. And I'm just like, no one does anything? Really? No one does anything. Now, Bear and his friend took her to the hospital once, but she doesn't go inside. But that's the only moment shown of any of her supposed friends giving a shit about just how violently and often she's harming herself in very brutal ways. Oh, and I think I mentioned Bear's friend was also hooking up with Nikki before the takeover of her body. So these are two men who have now been intimate with her, one presumably with consent and one clearly without. Both witness her brutally harm herself, and no one does anything to help her. You wonder why women are tired. Alex's defense of Bear reaches new heights when he says that the plot of Obsession is the same plot of all rom-com movies. What? I'm just like, what? How do we get here?
Start to realize that the wish actually worked. But like even then, like literally every rom-com is about trying to find a way to get the other person to like you, or you manufacture a meet cute or whatever, right?
No, not right. Not every rom-com is about that, but okay, I'm listening. Where's this going?
Like I've seen some internet comment threads where it's like, he only saw her as an object and wanted to remove her autonomy. That's why he made that wish. But like he didn't wish that she would do whatever he wanted, or I wish that she would become obsessed with me and me only. He specifically wished that Nikki would love him more than anyone.
I'm gonna be more fair than this guy's ever being to what it feels like women and consent in the conversation. I think I see what he's trying to set up to certain degrees here. I wish Nikki would love me more than anyone else. Him making that wish, in reality, if you were to think of this in a real situation, no one's going to think that this willow stick breaking this thing is going to make that wish happen. But if you do then think about it fully in the context of how all of this plays out, he did wish that she would love him more. She confirms that she loves him more. He directly asks her the very direct question. He learns that, oh, the wish worked in this, he is in the alt universe, and that she has no autonomy, that his wish is what made this happen, has forced this upon her. That's the element of this that I think Alex Meyers continues to push away and to not acknowledge as we move through the story.
Which is literally what everyone who has ever had a crush wants. Like every single fanfic about like, golly gee, I sure wish One Direction would kidnap me and fall in love with me all at the same time. Like,
what in the hell is that? Where is that? I've never seen anyone be like, I wish this person would like kidnap me and then like love me. Like that's, I don't know what you're looking at, but okay, sure, whatever. Even giving him that, the courtesy of not making every word that he says the most absolute to try to, because I think that would be a bad faith interpretation of even what his mess of a review was. But he doesn't give those types of nuances. He makes a lot of absolutes. The stereotyping of Nikki, the stereotyping of the real life person portraying Nikki, the stereotyping of the other woman in this. The way he's saying, oh, this movie is actually the same premise and the same concept as all rom-coms. Again, that's an absolute thing, which is absolutely impossible to be true. So while he's talking about insisting on nuance, it would be nice to see him give some himself.
As if half the girls who saw this movie haven't wished the exact same thing before.
Why does he make that about women, girls? Why is this a gendered thing? And why is it every time that you're talking about girls, women, whatever, why is it always so negative and so stereotyping and so absolute?
Hello, it is I, Willem Dafoe, from the movie The Lighthouse, and I've secretly been in love with you for years. Like, you have to look at the context, okay? If Bear had gone to the store specifically and been like, hey, do you have something that'll force a girl to fall in love with me? Or if he, like, searched on the internet for some kind of, like, weird ritual that's gonna make anyone fall in love with you, then yeah, that's some funky stuff, man. Or, like, later on, we find out that maybe Ian and Nikki have been hooking up, right? But Bear doesn't learn this until the very end of the movie. So
it wasn't the very end of the movie, by the way. It absolutely wasn't the very end of the movie. And he still then kisses and is there with Nikki after knowing that information. He literally talks to his friend about it. So nowhere close to the end of the movie. I think she's hooking up with you because she's trying to get back at the friend. And I'm like, hello? All of you saw Nikki brutally self-harm many times, bashing things in her, literally her face. Y'all watch this and like you'll just want to quibble and quabble about if she's hooking up with this guy to get back at this guy because she's hooking up. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Y'all are kind of villains. Everyone's a villain in this to certain degrees, except Nikki.
Like, for example, if he'd found this out at the beginning of the movie and he was like, oh, so Nikki's just some slut that bangs every guy except me, huh? Well, I'll show you.
That is such an extreme default reaction to if you found out that.
Yeah, he'd be like some misogynistic incel. But for at least half of the movie, he has no idea that this would work. And in fact, he's concerned for Nikki when she does change. To me, at least, it totally...
And there, when he says that he's giving Bear props for being like showing concern when she does change. And that was when he makes the wish and then she's immediately back at his car and all of a sudden she's like wanting to hang out and she wants to go over to his place. Then she wants him to get into the bed with her. All of these things are happening. And Bear's like, I think she really needs help. But that concern like immediately stops. The concern about her behaving very strangely, it immediately stops the second that she starts to kiss him.
To me, at least, it totally seems like a fanfic or whatever that he thinks would have no way of actually coming true. I'm not saying Bear is a blameless, innocent victim, okay? But I think some of you are a little too quick to attach motivation and subtext to this character that is not based on the movie.
Like, I don't know what you're saying when you're saying not based on the movie. Like, I'm listening to that, I'm trying to make sure I'm interpreting what he's saying well, and actually, I think it's very easy to interpret from the movie that Bear is a monster. Maybe he doesn't start out that way, right? He starts out as a shy guy, but he very clearly strips her of consent, whether he believed the wish was going to happen or not. Eventually it does, and he learns that it worked. And then he continues to take advantage of her in the worst ways possible. He was given the opportunity to speak to her, turns it down. Was given the opportunity to end her suffering, turns it down. All these opportunities, didn't take her to a doctor, didn't take her to a therapist, didn't take her to see her father, it didn't do anything. I think it's pretty obvious. And the director has told you, it's very obvious who the villain is here. And he's like, no, I think you guys are just taking it out of context.
It really seems like some of you want him to be a horrible, incel, intentionally malicious guy, regardless of what actually happens in the movie.
Yeah, what actually happens in the movie is that he's a horrible, incel, red-pilled, violent monster of a guy. That's what actually happens in the film, okay? We all saw it.
Assume that this guy was in close talks with the writer-director of the movie the whole time. So basically, both of them are saying that Bear is meant to be ambiguous, and you all...
None of them said that Bear is meant to be ambiguous. Literally, none of them said that Bear is meant to be ambiguous. Director from the very beginning was like, no, he's a villain. It's pretty clear. It's pretty clear. Pretty clear. Pretty clear. Not meant to be ambiguous at all. No. No, no. No, no.
Saying that Bear is meant to be ambiguous, and you all are just over here like, nyah.
Yeah, because the director's over here like, nyah. The director said no. We said no. You're the only one in the room saying yes.
You all equally upset about the Disney Channel original movie Zapped or 16 Wishes? Because fundamentally, these are all the same movie.
Oh my gosh, calling those things all the same movie is these are the stretches that this guy keeps going to make women a villain, is my interpretation of this. I'm not going to generalize him the way he generalizes women and Latina women and Asian women and women. I'm not going to generalize and monolith him the way I could. This feels like a running theme for him that comes very easily, but I hope he proves that wrong. There's the nuance that I'll give. He tries so hard, so often to apologize for Bear's essay in the movie, the characters, that he even reads a Reddit post calling people emotionally unstable for thinking Bear's a bad person, which is just...
And people who are chronically online or addicted to a piece of media aren't the most emotionally stable or media literate to begin with. So a lot of it comes from an emotional standpoint, hence the refusal to engage with the material in good faith and just making it say what they want the movie to say in an over-the-top, sanctimonious, dogmatic way.
What are we doing? Why? 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 Why is this so fucking hard to understand? What really grinds my gears is that in his so-called good faith defense of Bear, Alex conveniently, completely skips over adding commentary to the scene where Bear literally, well, you could say has sex, but literally he's raping her. This is happening with the unconscious version of Nikki, and instead playfully refers to it as the devil's tango.
But this also brings up another interesting thematic element of the movie, I guess, which is like people are saying, you know, if he truly loved Nikki, then he would do this incredibly selfless thing for her. But remember, his wish was not that Nikki would become obsessed with him. He wished that she would love him. So why isn't her love for him as selfless as you're claiming that his love for her should be? You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not saying Nikki's the bad guy.
No, because it's not Nikki. That woman is not there. Seriously, is this rage bait? Like, it was rape, dude. Like, I remember the scene vividly. It's just a few seconds long, but oh wow, was it impactful. If you look at Nikki's face while Bear is on top of her, she's kind of looking off to the side. She's completely void of emotion and just like fake moaning, and it is chilling. It is not real, and he knew it.
Now, just to be clear, I'm not defending all of Bear's actions, okay? Because at this point in the movie, he knows the wish worked, and he knows the real Nikki's soul is like trapped or whatever, but he keeps on dating her and tries to like continue on as if this isn't the most horrible situation anyone could imagine. Although, to be fair, what is he supposed to do? Because if he breaks up with her, she's gonna hunt him down. And the only other choice, as we learn, is that the spell will break if he dies.
And listen, I totally understand that Bear's character is not black and white, and there is a lot of nuance, as there should be with any thought-provoking film and character development that tackles such incredibly dark topics. No one is, the only thing that is black and white here is me, okay? Other than that, the limit does not exist. The nuance here is the realization that sometimes the unassuming man, the shy, introverted, quiet guy, the guy who loses his cat, can be a monster. That's what makes it not black and white. He's a coward. Not only does he refuse to ask Nikki out or share his feelings for her when she was in control of her own autonomy, but even when he learns that the only way to free her from this anguish is if he dies, or has someone else like create a wish that like unwishes his thing, but like he doesn't really actually like try hard to do that at all. Like he keeps on living, and he trades his ability to keep living for her despair. Yes, he pulls a gun to his head, but doesn't fire it, right? Then he swallows pills, but tries to throw them up last second, right? But he is a coward and a monster. A coward and a monster. There's the nuance, right? There's the gray. Now, just to be as fair as possible, it's important to mention that at the very end of the video, Alex admits that Bear is a bad guy, which, thank God, thank you, Captain Obvious, but that doesn't negate the fact that he spent 20 minutes on his platform defending a character who completely disregards a woman's autonomy over her own body, and in doing so, there is an adjacence. Yes, it's a movie. Yes, these are not real characters, so I'm not saying that he was defending a real human being from doing these types of things, okay? We do have to be able to have that type of nuance in the conversation about his commentary and all that, but a lot of the things that he was saying, in my opinion, feeds very real world rape culture.
Ultimately, Bear is the bad guy. He doesn't know what he did until late in the movie, but when he figures it out, he just keeps on rationalizing to himself because, like, he wants Nikki, and he doesn't seem to really care that she's being tortured the whole time, but rather he wants the demon to just act like Nikki so that he can pretend that he's actually dating Nikki, you know? Like, this is a bad dude.
Now, there's no way to see the comments under the now deleted video, but there are several tweets and threads that echo the overwhelming backlash Alex Meyers received. Quote, Alex Meyers' obsession video is exactly what I was afraid when this movie hit digital. Bro missed the entire point of the story just to make it seem like the internet is being dramatic about Bear. For the internet to be dramatic about Bear and calling him the villain, I think that is like a sign of hopeful improvement with society, because this very easily could have been overwhelmingly like the Andrew Tate take of it all, which I can only fucking imagine. And I gotta tell you, Andrew Tate was just fucking arrested. And I am so very happy for a number of reasons. We might cover it. Obviously, I've done a Andrew Tate doc on my main channel. If you haven't watched it, please do check it out. The charges are very, very bad. We're not gonna talk about that for right now, but I will say I am so thankful for all of the memes that have come out because the shit, the clothing, the pantaloons that Andrew Tate was wearing, the fucking penny loafers that he was, the capris that were on this man, the memes that have come out about it are just chef's kiss. Y'all, I'm telling you, somebody put Andrew Tate in kitten heels, bitch, and I am living for it. Anyways, someone on Twitter declared that they're unsubscribing from Alex after his video, saying, quote, I don't know if any of y'all watch Alex Meyers, but holy fucking shit was his take on the movie obsession dog shit. I had to unsubscribe because it's giving rape apologist.
I used to watch this YouTuber. I used to watch him. He would say, nice guy finishes last little incel shit I picked up on, and I stopped watching him because he pissed me off, okay? So this whole thing is completely down his alley.
Now, possibly his most obsession-coded self-report was in his Gossip Girl video, XOXO.
Calm down. Serena said hi to you at a 9th grade birthday party, and you've never forgotten it.
You know, this line basically sums up my entire high school experience. I mean, some poor girl would make eye contact with me like once in the hallway, and that was it. We were getting married. It was destiny.
And in some of his more recent videos, that pattern is still there where women are drawn, again, like I noticed earlier, like way more sexually than men. And he makes a lot of overtly sexual comments about them and the cartoons. And it's just like, what are we?
Oh, okay, thanks. Hey, you're like really hot and funny, but you got weird elbows, so here, put this on. Aw, man. Like, okay, so I'm like the 4 millionth person to talk about how skinny everyone is, right? And like, I'm not even here to comment on how Ariana or Cynthia look specifically, but more just like, so the past like 10, 15 years or so, Hollywood's been all about body positivity. We want more normal looking girls in movies. Everyone's criticizing runway models for being too skinny. It was a whole movement, right? And then as soon as like Ozempic or whatever comes along, being fat becomes a choice, and suddenly everyone's choosing to be as skinny as possible. So like, the heck was any of this even for?
This is one of those things where I said earlier, you can watch someone and hear their opinion, and then you could just not watch them anymore and move on. And that's okay too. That's the beauty of being able to just scroll past.
Because like, if this dude did actually look 90s, like no teen girl today would find him attractive. So who's the show for then?
Yeah. When he reviewed Wicked for Good, he also made a lot of really questionable remarks about women's bodies, even calling the black lead Cynthia Erivo's hands too big, which honestly, just fuck off. This is so boring. I'm so bored. I'm so bored of like the rage bait stuff and the race stuff, and like, I'm just so bored.
They're like slapping each other, which like, I've seen Cynthia's hands, okay? Ariana's taking this like a champ.
I almost had her. I almost had her.
Why is it when I see people, creators in particular, who have a history of racism, why is there also like ableism often attached to that? But the backlash he faced over the obsession video was at a whole new level. He initially responded with a pinned comment under the video that essentially seemed like it dismissed and invalidated the criticism of his take before eventually deleting it. Unfortunately, some of you are doing the very thing I talked about in the video. You are only seeing and hearing what you want out of my video instead of actually listening to what I'm saying. I kind of feel like you're not listening to the feedback from the good faith feedback and critique and criticism. I'm sure there was like a bunch of just like, you know, also people just being really extreme in very strange ways. But yeah, let's read on. As I say multiple times in the video, Bear is bad. I feel like you very clearly said that Bear is ambiguous and that was the intention of the character, was to be ambiguous, and that anyone else who didn't think so said, nah. But I don't know. He does bad things. He is a villain. My video was in reaction to people saying that he is some kind of evil incel from the beginning. Well, that's getting into psychology, dear friend. If someone is capable of being so cavalier with literally raping a woman when you know she has no bodily autonomy. And that's the other thing. In that first time where she's like, you know, she had just like been possessed and she's like, oh, let's go over to your place. And then she's like, can you come please like sleep next to me? They start like kissing, and then the real her kind of snaps back into her body and like panics, screams, freaks out, and like, you know, kind of pushes him off of her. And he very much is like, the way you're acting or talking, or you're making it sound like I'm doing something or I'm forcing something that you don't want. They very clearly have him articulate that a few times. It conveys that he's aware that it would be very wrong to do something against her consent. So he's fully aware the whole time of what that means. And he chooses not to respect her body. I say in the video that after he realizes the wish worked, he goes on to be the bad guy. And actually, you said that he was meant to be ambiguous. I didn't feel the need to show every single instance of him being bad, like the post-dinner scene, because they are all covered by the statement itself. You had no problem making the racist jokes and the Latina women and the ballbuster jokes. You had no problem making those jokes at the expense of women, but then you chose not to discuss the actual fucking rape scene. I find that interesting. I wanted to look at how he goes from a normal, kind of depressed loser guy into the villain, and not that he is a villain from the beginning. Okay, don't think that was conveyed in his review in his video. I think that he did quite literally say the character was meant to be ambiguous, that he's, you know, he does some bad things, but like that he's not like the total villain here. That's just, So then he says, SA is bad. Bear is bad. He does very bad, selfish things. I literally say this at multiple points in the video. I truly do not understand how some of you are so wildly misinterpreting this video, but I am sorry if the way I worded some parts made it sound like I was somehow defending what Bear does after the dinner scene. The fact that he blamed the audience for calling him out in regards to the villain of the man and the consensual thing and the racism and all of that, while taking no accountability for fetishizing Nikki and Sarah, shows that he still completely lost the plot, which for a film reviewer seems like a very bad thing to lose. And over on Instagram stories, he posted a more candid version saying the following, quote, "It's interesting to me," that's a great way to start it. "It's interesting to me that some people are so upset about my video trying to fairly examine Bear when there are hundreds of true crime podcasts that do the same thing to real life rapists and serial killers, and women love those podcasts." Y'all, I'm sorry. I forgot how absurd that is. I forgot how absurd he really thought. He thought he was cooking. Ooh, he was in the kitchen. He put the little, what do you call it? The apron. He put the apron on. He put Andrew Tate's kitten heels on, and he's like, "I am cooking, bitch. I am cooking." What's that? Wait, is that a red herring? Did a red herring just fly by? Oh my gosh, the man is bird watching again. What he's referring to in this baffling whataboutism false equivalency is how true crime podcasts try to examine the psychology of the world's worst people, which is not what he was doing, okay? The statement itself is misogynistic.
How can someone be so frustrating and utterly captivating at once?
So, man, story of my life, I tell you what.
So, a lot's happened. I wanted to make this video because at first it was just hate on the video for Obsession, and that's fine. You can hate on it if you want. You can disagree, that's totally fine. But it has, in the past couple of days, it's devolved into personal attacks, and it's gotten to a level that I can foresee getting kind of dangerous. Some of the things some of you are doing and saying is, it's gone beyond just the video, and now it's become rather serious.
Down in the depths of this animated Suspool, Alex Meyers deleted his video, deleted his comments, but then he made an apology video, which he also deleted. So let's watch. I have a copy.
So first of all, I'm sorry if I worded my video in a way that made it sound like I am defending or pro in some way. That is very much not the intention of the video.
I love an apology that starts with an if. Now, I will say there are some times where if is necessary. I think in this situation, that if is, I'm trying to be very fair here, that if feels like he very much doesn't believe at all that he conveyed that feeling or that idea whatsoever, and therefore it doesn't want to be making this video. I kind of feel like if you don't, two facets, two very, very, very different things. If you do a bad thing and you're not sorry for it, then just don't make an apology video. I'd rather you not. And then there's the other world where if people say you did a bad thing, but you did not, you know that you did not, and people are getting out of control, because that is a thing. I'm not talking about this situation, but that is a thing that happens. The internet is a wild show, and there are a lot of keyboard warriors who don't have critical thinking, who are very loud and just go in attack mode at people that they don't like. It has nothing to do with reality. I think people behind keyboards should also analyze the way they handle their comments. Sometimes people can be very wrong about stuff. I think he hates every moment of this.
As I said in the beginning, it very much was meant to be a good faith sort of attempt at sort of looking at this movie as a work of fiction, as a piece of media to be consumed.
Lots of things here. So the obviously the movie is a work of fiction. There's not like a willow stick and you break it and a wish comes true. That would be horrifying if that were a man. The civilization would end in an instant. That being said, the themes of it are very, 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 very real. And also the commentary around the ideas of consent is a very real thing that's very important, and it's very important to handle it in an actual nuanced way instead of making fun of the Latina woman in the thing. And then I also think that like, hey, when you leave out the one main visual representation of rape happening, when you go out of your way to ignore that and talk about smaller things, people are gonna be like, why'd you ignore that?
So just to clear things up, sexual assault is bad. Bear is bad. What Bear does in the movie, very bad. Bear is the villain of the movie. I think I said this in the video. Maybe I wasn't clear enough. That's my fault. I elected to not show every single bad thing he did because A, the video was already very long.
I can't with that. To leave that out is a choice. And I'm wondering about the motivations for that choice.
And B, I had already said that he was bad, so I didn't feel the need to show every example of that.
You didn't need to feel the need to show or articulate that his bad was in the form of rape? We're just gonna glaze over that? I am just confused why that would just be glossed over. Like my lips, but not nearly as cutely done.
I tried to make it clear that from like the diner scene onward, he is bad. Having sex with Nikki after the diner scene, bad. Trying to alter the wish, bad. The full reaction to sleeping Nikki, talking to him like in her sleep or whatever, I didn't show that full thing because I thought I had already said that he was bad, and I tried to make that clear.
I don't know that you did because you literally said that he's ambiguous and that he's not meant to be seen as the villain, and I'm confused.
And if I didn't, I'm sorry about that. When I said that, of course, he's not going to kill her like she asked, that wasn't meant to be a defense of him. That was me simply doing an objective observation that I don't think anyone would have done that in that situation. So
I think that's a reasonable assessment. I don't think that if this was in the real world, I don't think that the person would just like kill the person, right? He goes on to talk about how the jokes generalizing Latina women were allegedly written by a Latina woman on his teams.
The Latina jokes were conceived by a Latina woman from Central America. And to me, they seemed no more problematic than your average Instagram reel or like SNL skit, like the Bad Bunny Tia skit. To me, they seem perfectly in line with all of that.
But the difference is that you're not Latino, Alex. Do you see how that like just doesn't, that wouldn't matter who, because I'm the one who,
Can we get one more laugh, bruh?
And people who are chronically online or addicted to a piece of media aren't the most emotionally stable or media literate to begin with. So a lot of it comes from an emotional standpoint, hence the refusal to engage with the material in good faith and just making it say what they want the movie to say in an over-the-top, sanctimonious, dogmatic way.
It's almost like he believes that anyone who has a problem with his take is emotionally unstable. So hi, all of you dear Suspirians, join me in our emotional instability. Okay, these women are just so emotional. Oh my gosh, women are just so emotional. Everything about women is just emotional. Men are never emotional at all, even though men are like literally the vast majority of the people who commit violent crimes, and they rage and they get angry because they're so emotional, but it's only women who are emotional.
Going off of that, the jokey nature of the video itself is not meant to make light of rape or make light of what happens in the movie directly, but rather that's how my videos have always been for 10 years. Perhaps the jokes were too jokey for the subject of the movie. Maybe that was a mistake on my part.
How can he say he wasn't talking about the subject matter of the movie directly when in his video he literally says this?
But this also brings up another interesting thematic element of the movie, I guess, which is like people are saying, you know, if he truly loved Nikki, then he would do this incredibly selfless thing for her. But remember, his wish was not that Nikki would become obsessed with him. He wished that she would love him. So why isn't her love for him as selfless as you're claiming that his love for her should be? You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not saying Nikki's the bad guy or Bear is some like blameless victim or whatever. I'm just saying there's many ways you could look at this movie. Like maybe the wish didn't work at all. Maybe Bear's just that cool. You ever thought of that?
I knew people would disagree, but as I said at the beginning of this video, it's gotten to the point where it's not just disagreeing about my thoughts on the movie, but now it's gotten to a point where people are spreading complete lies about me. And from the DMs I'm getting and from what I've seen, it's getting to a point where it's It could become like very real. So I just want to reiterate a few things, some simple and some not. First of all, I've only been divorced once. That was back in 2020. There was no recent divorce. That was a one-time thing. I am not a rapist. I do not condone rape. I do respect women. I do not think women deserve to be raped. Apparently, I need to say this very clearly.
The larger issue here is with the culture he justifies in his video. You know, the type of thinking like, you know, the guy should get some credit for being a stand-up guy and not assaulting a woman who's under some sort of influence.
He then goes on to basically say that the entire film, he is like just a dumb guy in a rom-com trying to get with Nikki. All of this stuff has plausible deniability. The wish that he makes, the call that he makes, every single little thing, until the point where they're in, like whenever she's on MDMA, like they claim she's on drugs and that's why she was acting weird, he literally says he could have slept with her, he could have taken advantage of her, but he didn't.
What made the movie Obsession so important and relevant in the first place is that there is a concerning and growing corner of the internet filled with the creepy men who genuinely want to take women's bodily autonomy away or wear kitten heels like Andrew Tate. It's literally happening in our own government. It's been happening for a long time, okay? The movie very clearly shows that there's a difference between genuinely loving someone and wanting to control them for your own selfish fulfillment.
There is the villain of Obsession. Honestly, the Manosphere and Podcast Bros have done so much damage to media literacy because what do you mean? You think the villain of Obsession is Nikki and that the lesson of Obsession is bitches be crazy. Obsession is a beautiful and layered film filled with so many allegories and references and nuance, and I don't want to take anything away from it.
Now that Alex Meyers has deleted his videos, I don't know. I don't know if this was a moment of a man falling down the red pill manosphere rabbit hole himself or if he was already down there. I don't know enough about him to like make that assessment. I'm not gonna make some broad monolith him the way that he does other people, but I hope this was at least some sort of wake-up call. Why do I feel like he would hate me saying that? Because he'd probably be like, oh, you people, you people, and you're woke. Movies exist to reflect our very real world society back to us. And if this entire discussion has revealed anything, it's that this kind of behavior, the consent discussion, needs to grow the fuck up. We're all learning. We've all made mistakes. We've all had shitty opinions about things. We all have. We're human beings. It's a part of being a human being. We learn things like, oh, I've learned more. And now I've changed my opinion. We also need to make sure that we give people space to change their opinions. I think that is a lacking thing. That's part of being a human being. It's good and it's healthy, and we should allow people to do that. This, in the words of Curry Barker himself, again, the writer-director of the movie, quote, "We live in a world where everybody's on the internet and human connection feels like it's at an all-time low." Very true. Bear is a guy who's too scared. A lot of things would have been avoided in this movie if he had just told her how he felt. Everyone thinks the One Wish Willow is cursed, but it's not. Like if you worded it very, very carefully and wished for something you knew couldn't possibly be bad for anybody, you're probably fine. But if you're forcing someone to feel a certain way about you, it doesn't really matter how you word it. Love should be earned. Anything that's not that probably isn't going to work out. And there you have it. Okay, Susperians, time to step out of the dark waters of the Suspool, grab a towel and dry off. That's what I got. What do you think of this story? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I so want to hear your thoughts about all of this. If you want to hear more stories like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel and tickle the like button for more. And also let me know if you have like specific topic requests that you have that we dip into here. Thank you again to everyone for hyping the videos. Reminder, I also have a brand new full deep dive Swoop doc out on my main channel, Swoop. It's linked below and in the pinned comment. Highly recommend you watch after this if you want to really, really deep dive. And again, it's my biggest production that I have done. I actually do a parody music video in there. I did a parody of 50 Cent's In the Club. It's my finest work. Huge thank you to our channel members. I appreciate all of you. I hope you're enjoying your stickers, and huge thank you to our Patreon members. We're now over 5,000 members on Patreon, which is just so incredible. You can join our Patreon community for exclusive access to 4 more videos per month, 4 more exclusive, uncensored, unfiltered videos per month. Plus you get the entire back catalog of videos that are only available on Patreon, including the podcast. All of that's going on Patreon. I also have free additional support tiers, and you can get some free content there as well. We've also got we've got the Suspool collection, the Valid Ribcage collection in the merch shop is still available for all of you who haven't grabbed your pieces yet. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Bluesky. I'm most active on Instagram and Instagram stories. Follow me there so I can feel like a real influencer. Here we are. Also, dear Suspirians, if you're ready to stop overpaying wireless just because that's how it's always been, switch to Mint Mobile and get 3, 6, or 12 months of premium wireless for $15 per month. That's any plan, even unlimited, and treat yourself, honey. You deserve it. Thanks for coming for a swim. Have a good day out there. Beware the creepy, keep it cute, and I'll see you next time in the Suspool. Swoop!